Hello, Joe Marco here, and in today's little tutorial, we're going to take a look at the rolling bass, the trance rolling bass. So they're going to look at a few variations of patterns, side chaining, fake side chaining, interaction with the kick and that sort of thing. Try and do it as quickly as possible, but you know how I ramble on. We're going to start straight away. We're going to create this, we've got a new pattern. I've got a kick drum in place for use later, and I have a copy of, let's just delete that one. Let's add a brand new Serum. So we do it from scratch. Serum, where are you? There we go. Loading Serum. So we're going to make a sound from scratch. I'm going to drop the most basic rolling bass in. Pick a note. Let's do F. Is basically a note played on every quarter beat. Here's in my piano roll, this is bar 1, not B1, bar 1, bar 2. So this is currently in quarter beats. If I just did it in beats, it'd be more obvious. Beat 1, beat 2, beat 3, beat 4. We want quarter beats. So there we go. And I can put these in manually, or I can get the paintbrush. I'm just going to have one of these, and I'm going to paintbrush here, please. And we can paint these in, blah, blah, blah. And we get this. Pretty horrible. I'm going to make them a little bit shorter. So I'm going to select all, Control A. Let's make them a little bit shorter, give them some breathing room. But it is pretty horrible. So we're going to make a little sound. A rolling bass is going to be a short, bassy pluck. So I'm just going to do that with my envelope. Click, 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 click. I'm just I'm going to apply a filter here. Let's go up to the 24 dB. There we go. It's not very plucky. Let's make that plucky. Now I could use this envelope 1 on the cutoff, but I'm going to use envelope 2 instead. I'm going to copy envelope 1 to envelope 2. I did that with Alt, Shift, and then drag. I'm going to use envelope 2 on the cutoff. Click Alt Shift on the little blue dial there, so it's a single direction rather than 2 directions. Let's play the loop. I'm going to take the phase shift off and the random off. Put some consistency there. There, just have one. Time of resonance. You want resonance? Certainly some drive. I've got a little bit of swing here naturally, so if I take that off, there we go, quite dull and boring. I might, if I was doing this for my own track, I might add a second oscillator and put this at an octave up. And put that through the filter, possibly the filter as well. Might give this some unison, turn it down a bit, just give it a bit more level. It gives it some width. Right there, and maybe if I didn't want to use a separate sub bass, I might add in one of these. It needs a bit more of a slightly more attack and a bit more release to stop it clicking. But I prefer to use a separate sub bass, so I'm not going to do that. But I might use the sub oscillator as a cheeky high oscillator. Next 2 octaves up, let's subtle. There we go. So that might be my roll bass. Now, a good rule of thumb with anything is name stuff as you go. That's me. Rolling bass, smiley face. Now, just for completeness, I am going to put the mod wheel onto the cutoff. Let's put that up to about there. So, I just could bring that down a little bit. This lets me control the tone of this quite easily, and then open it and close it in the track. So I think about there. That sounds pretty good. So I would save that usually, but I'm not going to in this instance. So I've got my basic rolling bass. If I was to, first of all, I'm going to actually make this a loop. So I'm going to right click here, do advanced looping, and I'm going to loop this on a bar level. So now when I drop pattern 1, now rename as you go, rename and color, bass red of course, and this is, what keys I'll do in F. So I'm going to put F at the front, roll bass. Now I'll put F at the front so that when I drag this into my music, I can see what key it is, because I might at some point want to make another version which I will call, let's say, G, roll bass. Let's go here, select tool, move it up to G. That's shift and arrow. So when I can drop this in, I can easily see what notes are playing, and I can use that as a reference for if I'm like making melodies over the top. I can just see F, G. Sometimes I might even rename this something more simple, like just RB, or putting a hyphen in works well. Roll bass, something like this. Yeah, it's just so it's easy to spot the F and G if you happen to be playing along. So now I'll put the loop mode on, so I can now drag this however long I like, and it just loops nicely. So we're going to put that there for 3 bars, and we'll excitingly have a move up to G there. So let's just play that in the song mode. So this layer adds that bit of width, a higher up width, so you should be able to hear the bass, let's say on a mobile phone or something that doesn't have much of a bass response. Could be that we need to make this even lower, maybe. Or we could play the whole thing down an octave. Control A, Shift, and then Control down will move it a whole octave, transpose it an octave. And we would need to do the same to our G pattern, of course. It all depends on the sound you're making, what octave you want to play it in. Okay, we have our basic rolling bass, but there's no movement in it. Let's make a quick kick loop as well. Not fine. Yes, find first empty. Green because it's a drum. A dark green because it's a low pitched drum, low frequency drum. Let's put you here. Change it to my kick. Don't know. Let's go there. As with the bass, I'm going to go to here and I'm going to choose the kick, right click, advanced looping, right click, bar, and that one off. I can stretch my kick because why are you always in the way? You go all the way as long as I like. So here we go, let's play both together. So that is a basic rolling bass. Now, it's not good practice to have the kick, the thump of the kick, and the rolling bass competing for that space in the low end. We'd like that bass to slightly duck out of the way a little bit. So you can do this with some side chaining, with a tool like LFO Tool, which I might show you in a minute, or sidechain compression in FL Studio. You can use the Fruity limiter for that, and I will show you that as well. But you can fake it if you want to, just with some volume automation. Now I haven't set up volume automation here, so we'll just do that nice and quick. Let's go here and we'll choose velocity, and I'm going to make this bass mono. I'm not going to do anything else with it other than this roll. And whilst I could and probably should drag this and control the velocity levels of all these things, it's a bit of a drag. So in this instance, I am going to use the velocity to control the global amplitude of this thing. And I'll adjust this to taste in a minute. So let's do that. I might need to do this. I'm not 100% sure yet. Let's find out. Oh, see, if I'm going to do this sort of thing, it's best to do it before I clone it. So all the changes I make will happen then, you know, in all my clones. But anyway, here we go. I'm going to effectively duck the volume quite low down on each of the beat notes, which is this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one. And I'm holding Control and Shift down to select the notes I want. As you'll see here, the velocities of those selected notes are in red, and it will only let me edit the red ones, so I can sort of approximate it there. And now I'm going to do Control for that one, and Control Shift for this one, and this one, and this one, the second of every beat. I'm going to bring that down, that down, that down. And I'm going to do the same thing, Control, and then Control Shift, and just bring that down a little bit. Now, I don't want them all to be the same, because that will add a little bit of just interest. Oh, it's very subtle, but let's give that a play. Without it. With it. I see the G's not doing it, so I'm going to delete the G for now. Can you feel the bounce in there already? We don't have any swing. I might put that back up. No, I'll leave that off for now. But if I introduce the kick again, could you feel that little bounce now? Done by the velocities. Sweet! Already good. I like it. Now, there we go. That is a bit of a cheaty way of making a rolling bass duck under the kick, so as the kick hits here and probably goes over to here, then the volume of the bass is lower, so it's sort of interfering with the bass less, with the kick less at that moment. And then as the kick dies away halfway through the bar, then it's at its loudest, and it's rising, quick little fall, rise, fall, rise, fall. Even without the kick, it's emphasizing that offbeat. And with the kick, very nice. I'm going to clone. Now let's make another one. So I'm just going to call that one velocity for velocity automation. Right, let's make a whole new one. How exciting. The downside of this is that if you haven't got the kick, it's still ducking, which you may or may not want. I mean, I like it. I would leave it. But you may not want it ducking like that when the kick isn't playing. You might want a different effect. So let's take a quick look at two other ways of doing this sort of ducking, and then we'll take a quick look at different ways to vary that pattern a little bit for rhythmic interest. So let's go. And blah, 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 blah. What are we going to do? We're going to insert. No, we're not. We're going to go find first empty, and we'll go F. We'll keep up our convention here. Roll bass flat. Okay. We didn't color it. Now it's very important to color it so we know what we're doing. Roll bass flat. I'm going to mute you. We're going to put roll bass flat in there. Serum. Well, we're on F3. No, down here. Okay, so we're going to go down there. Have one of those. Paintbrush, please. There we go. Lovely jubbly. Loop, right click, loop, advanced looping. Bar. Thanks very much. Bar humbug. As opposed to what's going on there? What is going on here? There's that one, and there's the other one. Hopefully you can hear the difference. Right, I'm going to have to use the mixer channels here. I've prepared a couple of channels, so let's shove this onto number 10. We have a rolling bass. Now, we've got our kick drum. I've got a limiter on here purely to add some gain to the kick drum, which is really quiet. It's not doing anything else. If I look, turn it on, just give it a bit of level. I'm going to add a fruity limiter. Dynamics EQ FL native fruity limiter, which is appeared on my other screen. Here it is. Hello. And we're going to go into compressor mode. We have a sidechain option. There's no options here at the minute, so we're going to take the output from the kick. I'm going to right click here, sidechain to this track. There we go. Or I could just click on it and then bring the level down. Now over here, magically kick appears. So I'm going to choose kick as an option, which is the first input that's going into this channel. Right, I am going to do this fairly simply, I think. I'm going to just put the threshold down. Right, put the ratio up. So, I'll put the ratio right up. Let's just make this a bit faster. The bass isn't getting a chance to really play. So the bass, this is ducking the bass fully at the point when the kick drum hits, basically by 20 to 1, because I've got the release right up. So if I turn the release down, curves, let's bring the threshold up. Threshold is where it actually kicks in. How much does this let through? Threshold effectively. So if I could let it all through, it wouldn't do anything. Here we go. I'm going to bring this down. Now if the kick drum stops, it plays normally. So there's that method. You can use sidechain compressor. In FL Studio, you can use the fruity limiter, and you just adjust these to taste. Let's just take the kick out of the mix, out of the actual audible mix. Fans going mental on my computer for some reason. Bring the kick back in. There we go. So that's another method of ducking the bass underneath the kick. Now the last one, we'll just remove that altogether. I'm going to add in LFO Tool, one of my favourite little devices. Here we go. And here you've got some fake sidechains. This just basically adjusts the volume over time as its default setting. Here, volume 100%. This controls the volume 100%. So I'm going to pull this down to about here. I'd like to have a little bit of that there, maybe like that. And this is currently set to a quarter beat, so this is what really this whole display is one beat. It's 1/4, it's a quarter of a bar. I think my brain's just gone mentally blank. So I'm going to turn the kick off. I'm going to take that off of there. We don't need it. Turn the kick off altogether, and let's just play this with LFO Tool on. I put it on the kick. That's a really dumb place to move it. Let's put it over here on the rolling bass. That would make sense, wouldn't it? Don't do it there. I have no kick. Right, let's delete that. Now, let's try that again, listening to LFO Tool on the right place. That's open on my other screen. Thanks very much. And then you can adjust this to taste. So I did this. Do that right down. You can hear it's only letting the volume through at that point. Let's bring the kick in. Just a different vibe you get here. Now you just adjust. You can adjust this quite nicely to get the bounce that you want. Depends on your kick drum, your type of track. Now on FL, you can automate how much of this you're doing. So I can have none of it, and I can have more of that effect going on up to all of it. And so for the rolling bass and sort of sub bass, anything like that which you're doing ducking, I like using LFO Tool for the precision control you get over this, and also because I like to create automation clips, name as you go. So roll bass, I would call that pump personally, just as my name for it. So I might do you hear that? It just sounds a bit more intense as it gets to the end. Bouncy, bouncy. Just sounds a little bit more like it's racing towards the end. It's not changing speed. Okay, so that is 3 methods of ducking the kick with a rolling bass. And next I'm going to look at just varying this pattern a little bit for some rhythmic emphasis, a bit of movement and that sort of thing.